So, good day. I am Dr. Lionel Sanchez. I am an interior designer and assistant professor at the University of the Philippines, Cebu. My practice bridges theology, design, and ethics. And so, in this lecture, I'll be sharing a framework I have developed, and it is a Christian paradigm in interior design that somehow integrates evangelical theology with spatial decision making. And so the question that I aim to ask in this research of mine is how can faith shape everyday spaces and not just through icons as we in the Philippines commonly do in religious practice, but also through Christian values like mercy, order, humility, and stewardship. The content of this presentation, uh, I will present the introduction, the literature, research methods, results, and discussion, conclusion, and lastly, some of my references. Most of the design theories we use today are very much rooted in secular philosophy or Eastern religious systems like Feng Shui or Zen design, but we have almost no articulated design theories grounded in Christian theology, especially for spaces and interiors, as Feng Shui and Zen would also do. What little exists often focuses on church architecture, but what if we could develop a biblical framework that informs how we design hospitals, homes, or classrooms, and not just altars and sanctuaries? And so this paradigm doesn't aim to dominate, but to offer one valid theological approach, I would say, to space making rooted in the evangelical tradition. This study draws on three different bodies of literature. I would say first is, of course, scripture itself, particularly books such as Genesis, Exodus, Romans, and Corinthians. Second, evangelical commentaries and authors like Fee and Stewart, who guide a historical and grammatical approach to biblical interpretation. And third, theological literature from Brueggemann, Sweet, and Stark, which help uh, me linked ethics, aesthetics, and space. It's also important to compare this to other religious spatial paradigms like Zen design, feng shui, Vastu Shastra, and Trihita Karana, because each operate from a very specific religious worldview, and they are unapologetic about it also. So this Christian framework deserves the same clarity and the same confidence, I would say. And so this study uses a logical argumentation as its primary methodology and appropriate tool for theory building in faith based design research. Also, scripture was interpreted through a modified historical grammatical method anchored in its literary and historical context. And then I validated it through triangulation. First, I triangulated it with evangelical commentaries, second, with theological literature, and third, through structured feedback from 10 Christian design and theology experts. This triangulation ensured doctrinal integrity, academic coherence, and practical relevance. So in this diagram, you will see how the triangulation is strategy is done, presenting it visually. So at the center is the validated framework. From three sides, we see the inputs, the scripture, which is interpreted through the historical grammatical method, and then we have the evangelical commentaries, which ground the readings within theological orthodoxy, and we have theological literature, which ensures scholarly depth and contemporary relevance. And so together, they converge to form a paradigm that is both spiritually faithful and professionally usable. So this is the framework that I have come up with. It consists of nine different elements, and each of the element in my framework has a biblical basis and has its relevance on interior design, also aligned with different various professional and global standards. So these are discernment and accountability, service and social responsibility, teaching and theology, encouragement and inclusivity, generosity and economic viability, leadership and code compliance, mercy and healing, stewardship and resilience, order and artistry. So these are the characteristics which I rather posit that Christian interior design should possess. So I'll try to give you examples of how these elements work in real design contexts. For example, in residences, mercy might be expressed through spaces for rest and mental healing. And if you one designer is designing a healthcare, applying this Christian framework, stewardship might be through the use of sustainable materials and layouts that reduce the stress of the patients. And perhaps in public spaces, inclusivity is apparent in accessible and barrier free design. And so each element can also guide design prompts, such as how is encouragement spatially expressed, or where does accountability show up in the layout of the spaces. So this somehow shifts Christian design from symbol to system, from icons that we are usually acquainted with to the embedded values, which I wish that the spaces try to emulate. And so this paradigm invites us to design spaces that reflect justice, care, and Christian witness, and not through overt symbols, but through embedded theological values. It is rooted in an evangelical theology, yet it doesn't seek universal imposition. Much like example feng shui or Zen design, it stands out as one spiritually grounded system among others. Its strength lies in enabling faith design integration. framing interior design both as ethical calling and a spiritual discipline. Looking ahead, I hope to explore comparative models across religions and gather post occupancy feedback to somehow evaluate how users experience these values in live spaces. To conclude, this paradigm offers a way to think of interior design as both a spiritual discipline and an ethical vocation. It presents a faith informed spatial theory that is validated, adaptable, and rigorous, bringing Christianity into design scholarship not as an afterthought, but as a generative source of insight. Because in a world seeking more justice and meaning in space making, perhaps Christian theology still has something beautiful to say. These are the references of my research, and thank you very much for listening. And have a great and wonderful day.